In perhaps the first case of its kind, Boaz Ling could be the first baby born in Singapore who's immune to COVID-19. His parents, Pele and Natasha, had flown to Singapore from London just 2 hours before Natasha entered her 36th week of pregnancy. 3 days after their arrival, they both tested positive for the coronavirus. After a month of fear and anxiety, they were cleared of the virus, and baby Boaz was born on April 26th. Here's a look at their story.
On the flight, there is a Singaporean noodle dish that I love on Singapore Airlines, but I couldn't eat it because I felt sick. And I think it's because I lost my sense of taste and smell, so it just tasted awful, so I didn't eat it at all.
We are very pleased to be joined by none other than the happy parents themselves, Pele and Natasha Ling. Welcome, guys. Now, congratulations on the birth of baby Boaz. Most important question, how is he doing?
Yeah, he's doing really well.
He's sleeping at the moment, so we apologise if he suddenly wakes up and he's got to be fed. But I'm sure if he could answer that, he'd say he wants some more milk.
Now, guys, now we have to talk about the moment that you both tested positive for the coronavirus. Pele, I understand you got the bad news first. What was that like? And do you have any idea how you got infected?
Well, what was it like? We just arrived back from the UK, and so I was jet lagged. I was in a deep slumber at 12 o'clock in the middle of the day, and the phone rang. Natasha picked it up and woke me up and said, "Oh, hey, it's NCID. Your results are through." And I spoke to the person, and initially when they said I was positive, I was panicking, thinking, "Oh my word, what's going to happen? What does this mean for Natasha? What does this mean for the baby? This is stressful." But in some ways, it was a bit bittersweet because in the UK at that point, they weren't testing anyone. So I was kind of thinking, actually, now we're in Singapore. If I've got it, at least I'll get the medical attention and the healthcare to get over it as quickly as possible. So in that way, I was kind of like, oh, this is okay. How did I get it? In a way, we've got no idea. I work for a big church in central London called All Souls, and I'm part of a great team that puts on free English classes. So we get over 100 people every week coming to our free English classes. So maybe someone brought it internationally there, but I think I was probably just very unlucky and in the wrong place at the wrong time, maybe on a bus, touching a sort of bus handle. Who knows?
Oh no, now Natasha, you had to be in isolation for 3 days at NUH. Meanwhile, Pele was initially warded at NCID, so you had to spend several days apart. On top of that, at the time, you were the only COVID-19 patient in Singapore who was that far along in her pregnancy. How terrifying was the whole experience, and how did you get through it?
So I think the only comfort that I had when I tested positive is that I thought I'd be with Pele and NCID. So when I found out that wasn't the case, that really stressed me out, that I was going to be on my own. And I think as a first-time mother, you worry a lot anyway. You worry, is the baby kicking enough? Is it moving? Is it going to be okay? You worry about birth and labor. So to have coronavirus on top of that was quite stressful. I found that quite stressful.
Yeah, it's just to add on to the stress already. Now, tell us about the moment that you guys, both tested negative. Natasha, why don't you go first?
So testing negative while you're in there is like winning the lottery. Like you don't know who's going to test negative. You don't know on what day. So we were I was really excited when I found out I got 2 negatives. But at the same time, I was anxious and sad because I felt like I was leaving Pele behind, and I didn't know when he was going to get out, and I worried about him not being there when I had the baby. I think that was the big thing for me.
Now, how about you, Pele? What was your side of the story?
I think what Natasha missed out is when we were in the hospital, there was this thing that we sort of nicknamed called a false negative. And so many people in our ward would get a negative, then the next day it would be a positive. So it was a false negative. And so when Natasha's first negative came through, all the doctors and the other patients, they were all saying to us, oh, don't get your hopes up. Everyone gets the negative. And there were people in the ward that were there much longer than we were. Natasha was only there for 10 days. So I really, I think it must be the power of prayer with so many people around the world praying for us that Natasha got a negative and straight away got a double negative. And so I was a day behind Natasha actually. So when I found out, it was actually late at night. At that point, there were so many more cases coming through. So the results were taking a lot longer in the lab. So we were expecting to find out about 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It was 10 o'clock at night. I was playing cards with some of the other inmates, as we used to joke, calling each other. And I was alerted by one of our wonderful doctors, Dr. Shobhan. He messaged me and said, hey, bro, you're getting out of here. You're going home. And I was over the moon. And we had this great culture of when somebody got discharged, everyone would start applauding across the wall.
Wow.
So we got a little round of applause. It was wonderful. All of us. We didn't have it too badly, but there were others who got it much worse. And we think about all the people in the ICU now, but everyone was really supportive and really happy when you got discharged. We were really sort of hoping and fighting for each other. We've got a WhatsApp group now. All our friends who were in ward through the COVID survivors.
Wow, that's amazing. Now, guys, what have let's shift our attention to Boaz for a minute. What have the doctors said about him, possibly being the first baby born here to have natural antibodies against COVID-19?
Yeah, so I mean, the doctors have been really excited, I think, about Boaz, and all the doctors have been wonderful and supportive towards us, and they've really helped us get through the process. Actually, they've been wanting us to, when we were in there, they were wanting for us to recover before we had the baby as badly as we did. So what they told us is that it is likely that Boaz has antibodies for coronavirus because I had the virus while he was in my belly. So the antibodies were passed from me to him through the blood. So that's what we've been told.
And I think it's been really exciting, really, because, all three of us and, like I said, many of the other COVID patients, we're all able to contribute to the research that's going on in Singapore. And along the whole process, it was really interesting because everyone was learning together. That's the doctors including. Nobody quite knew what was going to happen or how people would respond. They can't confirm with us that he is completely immune and how long the immunity would last for. They're pretty confident it would, but they think it just follows the pattern of most viruses. I think what they want to do is try and get a few other results from babies who haven't had it and confirm before they give us that final yes, he's clear. But it's been a really exciting journey, and I think we're thrilled that Boaz here is the youngest person in Singapore to be contributing to research in Singapore against coronavirus. And so yeah, he's sleeping at the moment, but he's doing very well. This little
he looks great. He's our little superhero with superpowers and everything.
Exactly.
Now,
Straits Times article said that he was oblivious to it all, and I think that's right. This is little oblivious Boaz, no idea what's going on, but he's absolutely.
I'm sure you have a lot of. I'm sure you have a lot of good stories to tell him when he's a bit older and he can understand a bit more.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, guys, what are your plans as a family now that the dust has somewhat settled? Although I wouldn't quite say that, considering you have to care for a newborn now.
Yeah, exactly. So it's been quite nice actually over the circuit breaker to have quiet time to spend with the family and to for Boaz to get to know two of his grandparents and one of his. So that's been quite nice, but obviously we're really excited for him to meet the rest of his family and our friends in person.
Yeah, it's been exciting because we never planned to have the baby here. We were planning to have it in the UK, and so it was a bit exciting trying to sort of set up a baby shop here as well as in the UK. But I think we've just got to wait until things become clear. We're waiting like everyone else in Singapore and in the UK, and when it's safe to do so. As Natasha said, we're staying with family here at the moment, so it's nice that we've got them. But Boaz has 7 great-grandparents, and he's met them all over video call, but we can't wait for family and friends to meet him. And I think although we're being told we're most probably all 3 of us immune to the virus, it doesn't mean we can't carry the virus. So we've got to be careful, and only when it's clearly safe to do so, we'll try and introduce him to his great-grandparents, both in Singapore and in London.
Well, Pele and Natasha, thank you so much for taking the time to share with us your amazing story. We wish you and Boaz all the very best.